All right, good morning, everyone. Let's get going. Okay, U.S. markets really had a somewhat sideways session again. I know it looks like we had a little bit of a rally there, but more or less sideways into the, on lackluster volumes again, up 6 points on the S&P, nothing to write home about. Markets were aligned with every sector pushing higher on the day. We did have the St. Louis Fed President Bullard who eased fears of an imminent tapering, saying that we don't have to be in any hurry. You're starting to get a little bit of separation in the commentary from the Fed members at the moment. So I think that the fact that that's going on kind of tells us that it is getting closer to decision time with with certain guys on opposite sides of the fence from the others. So it definitely obviously have been talked about in recent meetings, and I think the possibility is getting higher and higher as good data comes out. All right. We had a delayed set of August factory orders that was released together with September's data due to the shutdown. And both points missed expectations, but didn't really make a difference to markets. It just kind of seems like anything that's missing expectations just kind of extends the possibility of taper. So just kind of still in that same drift up at the moment with low volumes and nobody really being able to commit to either side of the market. We had Asian markets which were more or less mixed after PMI data out of China pointed to a recovery there. We just don't really have any leadership to kind of go on at the moment. We have had good numbers out of China as of late. It hasn't been able to get the East to really do anything significant. And then numbers out of the States have been actually okay for the most part. But no one's really has any fear of them tapering anytime in the near term. So just not being able to get any leadership in the markets is kind of driving volumes lower and lower and making things more difficult for traders like us in the market. Anglo is out this morning saying it'll shed 200 coal jobs in Australia due to weak market conditions there. I'll show that one actually in one of the charts in just a little bit. Market data out today. We've got we had Australian cash rate target, which will remain the same at 2.5%. We've got employment month on month out of Spain later. We've got PMI services numbers out of the UK, and then we've got the ISM non-manufacturing numbers in the States later this evening. All right, let's jump into the maps. All right, the first thing I wanted to show is the US dollar ZAR chart. I just kind of wanted to have a quick look at some sort of resistance levels here that we just kind of tested in the last couple sessions. I'd say just north of 10.20, maybe 10.22. That's exactly where we wicked up to 2 sessions ago. Yesterday we kind of started out around there, around 10.20, 10.21. And maybe we're able to kind of rally from there on the rand side. And then this morning you're seeing the same, a little bit more rand strength. This is kind of looks like it's starting to set up as a possible head and shoulder pattern. If we can spend a little bit more time out to the right over here on the right shoulder. But it's definitely setting up as a possibility with 960 kind of being the neckline here. So I would definitely say that we could have a potential rally here in the rand if we're able to continue to hold 1020 for at least a couple more weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if we worked our way down to at least test the neckline here and even break down on the dollar, I guess, down toward 9. So just keep that in mind. Or right now, this 1020 is a very, very big level. Call it 1022. If we can't get above that between now and year end, I wouldn't be surprised to see a nice rand rally. So technically, that's looking like a nice setup there. All right, next one we'll have a look at CFR. We tweeted this one yesterday. CFR broke to new closing highs yesterday. We broke to new all-time highs intraday, and then we came back and we made a new closing high. I'll try to shorten it up as much as I can so you can have a decent idea there. I believe on this day here, the close was at 104.56. That was the all-time closing high until yesterday when we closed at 104.76. So we did break out on a closing basis. I think, in my mind, really this is kind of coming from a move sort of around, let's call it 97, 90, even call it 98 just to be safe. Breaking up through 104.50, I think we're going to move at least to 110 and possibly as high as 112 in the near term on that breakout. So, in my mind, I think all these stocks, all the breakouts have been the plays that have been working. You see breweries a couple days ago. It's a difficult buy because it ran straight from 475. It's already given us $10 to the upside. It's given us a couple percent there. Not buying Billiton's. Billiton's already given us $3 on the upside. Old Mutual, Aspen. And all these charts look very similar. They're all putting in some sort of, ascending triangle or, flagging of some sort or some sort of wedge pattern. So they all look very similar, and the breakouts have just been working. They've been the right play. So I think here in CFR, I wouldn't be surprised to see the same thing. All right, Anglos. I just wanted, just having a look at this chart this morning, and if you really look at it, let's look at it from a closing basis, which would be about like that. You can see here that we're coming up, kind of testing, bumping up against this. I don't know if you want to call it a flag or what you want to call this, but definitely some sort of pattern here where we're starting to push the trend line here. It looks like pullbacks are getting smaller and smaller as of the last kind of 10 days or so, and we really seem like we can potentially break out to the upside of this pattern, and we've definitely out of the downtrend in my mind here with the Anglo. So I think if we pop above, call it 243, if we can get above 243, this thing to me can easily retest recent highs up around 256 and on even higher. So Billiton's is really leading the charge at the moment. Obviously there's some weakness in this one due to Kumba, but I think it's lagged badly. And if Kumba, which we'll show now, breaks above resistance where it closed yesterday at 429, then I think that we can also see Anglos get some confirmation there and maybe make a move to the upside. So Kumba closed exactly at resistance, which was support. It's now resistance, 429. We closed exactly at that level on yesterday's close. It's going to be a big test here. We'll see what happens over the next session or two. It's got to get a close above this level. If it does, like I said, I think Anglos can make a nice move to the upside. So this is one to watch for a little bit of leadership there. Sasol, I just want to show, the stock's been in a great uptrend since earlier on in the year. Well, actually, just look at it from the closing lows, and you can see here right around 500. There's real support there. If you look at it on a closing basis, 500 would definitely be your number. This thing is held trendline support going all the way back to April. It's been one of the more solid stocks on the board. I know the last few sessions it's traded quite weak, but obviously we've seen some weakness in the rand, which should help bolster it in the near term. But 500, definitely some support, and also obviously a bit of a big number in terms of just a round number at 500 there. All right, and then the last one I'm going to show is MDC, MediClinic here. I want to go back to a 2-year chart on this and kind of do the same sort of thing we were just looking at on Sasol. Longer-term trend support, definitely right at longer-term trend support, or tested it yesterday on the wick, down close to 73. Obviously, it kind of gets to this oversold point in terms of the trend, because you can see there's only a couple touches on this line, but this is going to be something big to watch. There's a couple stocks that are starting to, a couple of these healthcare stocks that are really starting to fall back to trend support, and I'm not sure if these things are going to end up starting to come off the boil a little bit, but these are definitely nice setups to watch. I think definitely around somewhere between 72, 73, risk reward might not be a bad risk to have a nibble on the long side, and if it drops below that level there at 72, I would definitely be out of any longs on MediClinic here. And that's it for today, guys. Thanks a lot.